Night 2. Here we are at last, she said to me, laughing and pressing both my hands. I've been here for 2 hours already. You don't know what happened to me all day. I know, but let's talk about the main thing. Do you know why I came? Not to talk nonsense like yesterday. Look, we must act more wisely from now on. I thought a lot about it yesterday. In what way, in what must we be wiser? From my side, I am ready. But really, nothing more clever has ever happened to me in my life than now. Really? First, I ask you, don't squeeze my hand so much. Second, I tell you that today I have thought about you for a long time. Well, and what was the result? The result? The result is that we must begin everything again, because in the end, I decided today that I still know nothing about you, that yesterday I behaved like a child, like a little girl, and, of course, my good heart is to blame for everything. That is, I praised myself, as it always happens when we start to judge ourselves. And so, to correct my mistake, I decided to find out everything about you in the most detailed way. But, as there is no one from whom I can learn about you, you must tell me everything yourself, all the truth. Well, what kind of person are you? Quickly now, start and tell me your story. My story, I cried frightened. My story. But who told you that I have a story? I have no story. How did you live then, if you have no story? She asked, laughing. Completely without any stories. I just lived, as we say, by myself, all by myself, absolutely alone. Alone, completely alone. Do you understand what alone means? How alone? You mean you never saw anyone? Oh no, I see people, but still, I am alone. So what, do you not speak to anyone? In the strict sense, to no one. But who are you then? Explain yourself. Wait, I can guess. You surely have a grandmother. Like I do. She's blind and has not let me go anywhere all my life, so that I almost forgot how to talk at all. And when I misbehaved 2 years ago, she saw that she could not hold me any longer. She called me to her and pinned my dress to her dress with a pin. Since then we sit like this all day long. She knits stockings, though she is blind, and I sit beside her, sew or read her a book aloud. It is such a strange custom that I have already been pinned for 2 years. Oh, my God, what misfortune! No, I don't have such a grandmother. If you don't, then how can you stay at home? Listen, do you really want to know who I am? Yes, I do. In the strict sense of the word? In the strictest sense of the word. Very well. I am a type. A type. What sort of type? Cried the girl, bursting out laughing, as if she had not laughed properly for a whole year. It is so funny with you. Look, there is a bench here. Let's sit down. Nobody walks here. Nobody will hear us. And start your story. Because you will not convince me. You do have a story, and you are only hiding it. First of all, what does type mean? A type? A type is an original, a strange person, I answered, laughing together with her childish laugh. It is a kind of character. Listen, do you know what a dreamer is? A dreamer? Let me think. Of course I know. I'm the dreamer myself. Sometimes I sit next to my grandmother, and all kinds of things come into my head. Then I begin to dream, and I think so much that suddenly I am marrying some Chinese prince. And sometimes it's good to dream. No, really, who knows? Especially if you already have enough to think about without dreams, she added this time quite seriously. Excellent. If you once married the Emperor of China, then you will understand me completely. So listen, but wait, I still don't know your name. At last, you remembered very early. Oh my God, it did not even come to my mind. I felt so good without it. My name is Nastinka. Nastinka, only that? Only that, is it too little for you, you greedy man? Too little? No, a lot, on the contrary, very much, Nastenka. You are a kind girl. If from the first moment you have already become my Nastenka for me. There, you see? Well, go on. Well then, Nastenka, listen to what a funny story comes out here. I sat down beside her, took a pedantic, serious pose, and began, as if reading from a book. There are, Nastenka, if you do not know, some rather strange corners in Petersburg. It seems that the same sun that shines for all other people of Petersburg does not look into these places. Instead, some other sun looks there, a new one, as if specially ordered for these corners, and it shines on everything with a different, special light. In these corners, my dear Nastenka, people seem to live a completely different life, not like the life that boils around us, but such a life that could exist in some faraway fairy tale kingdom, and not here, in our very serious time. This life is a mixture of something completely fantastic, warmly ideal, and at the same time, alas, Nastenka, dull, ordinary, and to be honest, unbelievably trivial. You will hear, Nastenka, I think I will never get tired of calling you Nastenka, that strange people live in these corners, dreamers. A dreamer, if we need a detailed definition, is not quite a person, but something in the middle. He usually settles in some unreachable corner, as if he is hiding even from daylight, and once he gets into his corner, he grows into it like a snail. Or at least is very similar to that interesting animal that is both animal and house at the same time, which is called a turtle. What do you think? Why does he love his four walls so much? Always painted green, smoky, sad, and terribly full of dust and tobacco smoke. Why does this funny gentleman, when one of his rare acquaintances comes to visit him, and in the end all his acquaintances disappear, meet this visitor so confused, with such a changed face, in such embarrassment, as if he has just committed a crime in his four walls, as if he has just printed false banknotes, or written terrible verses, and is sending them secretly to a journal, with an anonymous letter saying that the real poet is dead, and his friend considers it his sacred duty to publish his works. Why, tell me, Nastenka, does the conversation go so badly between these two people? Why does neither a joke, nor a light, quick word come to the tongue of the visitor, who in other situations loves jokes and clever phrases and conversations about ladies and other pleasant topics? Why, in the end, does this visitor, probably a new acquaintance, and this is his first visit, because there will be no second visit, he will not come again? Why does he himself become so embarrassed, almost frozen in place, with all his wit, if he has any, when he looks at the upset face of the host, who has now completely lost himself after his huge but useless efforts to make the talk light and cheerful, and to show that he also knows how to behave in society? Why, in the end, does the guest suddenly grab his hat and run away, suddenly remembering the most important business, which never really existed, and hardly manages to free his hand from the hot shaking of the host, who tries in every way to show his regret and correct the failure? Why does the departing guest laugh as soon as he leaves the door? Promise himself never to visit this strange man again, though this strange man is actually a very good person, and at the same time cannot refuse his imagination the small pleasure of comparing the face of this dreamer during the whole visit with the face of a poor kitten that has been squeezed, frightened, and hurt by children, who grabbed it in their cruel game, pressed it, and now it has run away under a chair into the darkness, where it sits for an hour, angry and offended, washing its face with both paws, and later looks angrily at life, even at the food that the kind cook brings it from the master's table. Listen, Nastenka interrupted, who all this time had been listening to me with wide-open eyes and mouth. Listen, I do not understand why all this happened and why you ask such funny questions, but I know for sure that all these adventures happened to you yourself, exactly as you tell them. Of course, I answered with the most serious expression. Well, if of course, then go on, said Nastenka. I really want to know how it ends. You want to know, Nastenka, what our hero was doing in his corner, or better to say, what I was doing, because the hero is me, in my own modest person. You want to know why I was so frightened and lost for the whole day after the unexpected visit. You want to know why I was so confused, why I blushed when the door opened, why I could not receive my guest properly and died in the shame of my own hospitality. Yes, yes, answered Nastenka. That is exactly what I want. Listen, you tell everything wonderfully, but can't you tell it not so wonderfully? You speak as if you are reading from a book. Nastenka, I answered in a serious, strict voice, hardly able to keep from laughing. My dear Nastenka, I know that my storytelling is wonderful, but forgive me, I cannot speak in another way. Now, my dear Nastenka, I am like the spirit of King Solomon, who sat for 1,000 years in a bottle under 7 seals, and finally all 7 seals were broken. Now, when we have met again after such a long separation, because I have known you for a long time, Nastenka, and for a long time I have been searching for someone. That means I was searching for you, and it was meant that we should meet now. Now thousands of small doors have opened in my head, and I must pour out a whole river of words, otherwise I will suffocate. So please do not interrupt me, Nastenka, but listen calmly and obediently. Otherwise I will fall silent. No, no, never. Speak. Now I will not say a word. I continue. There is, my dear Nastenka, 1 hour in my day that I love very much. It is the hour when almost all work, duties, and business are finished, and everyone hurries home to have dinner, to lie down and rest, already thinking about pleasant things for the evening and for their free time. At this hour, our hero too, because allow me, Nastenka, to tell everything in the third person, since in the first person it is terribly embarrassing. So, at this hour, our hero, who is also not without work, walks together with the others. But a strange feeling of pleasure shines on his pale, slightly tired face. He looks with interest at the evening sky that slowly becomes dark over the cold Petersburg roofs. When I say he looks, I am not exact. He does not really look. He only half sees it, as if he is tired or busy with something else more interesting, so that he can only give a quick, almost unconscious look at what is around him. He is happy because his boring work is finished until tomorrow, and he is glad like a schoolboy who's been released from his lessons to his games and fun. Look at him from the side, Nastenka. You will at once see that a happy feeling has already worked on his weak nerves and his sensitive imagination. He is thinking about something. Do you think he is thinking about dinner? About the evening? What is he looking at now? At that respectable gentleman who so nicely bowed to the lady in the fast carriage? No, Nastenka, he does not care about these little things now. He is already rich with his own special life. Suddenly, he has become rich, and the last ray of the setting sun did not shine cheerfully for nothing. It called from his warmed heart a whole swarm of impressions. Now he hardly notices the road, on which earlier even the smallest detail could draw his attention. Now the goddess Fantasy, if you have read Zhukovsky, my dear Nastenka, is already weaving with her capricious hand her golden cloth, and shows him the patterns of a strange, impossible life. Who knows? Maybe she has already carried him up to the 7th crystal heaven from the excellent granite pavement on which he is walking home. Try to stop him now. Ask him suddenly, where is he standing now? Which streets did he pass? He would not remember anything, where he walked or where he is now. And blushing with shame, he would surely lie to save his dignity. That is why he jumped and almost cried out in fear when a very respectable old lady politely stopped him on the pavement and began to ask him the way. Angry with himself, he walks on, hardly noticing that more than one passerby smiled, looking at him, and turning after him, and that a little girl, who shyly moved aside to let him pass, burst into laughter when she looked at his wide, dreamy smile and his strange movements. But the same fantasy has already caught this old lady, the curious passers-by, the laughing girl, and the peasants eating supper on their boats, blocking the Fontanka. Suppose our hero was walking along it, and has woven them all playfully into her web, like flies in a spider's net. And with these new pictures, the strange man has already gone into his cozy little nest, has already sat down to dinner, has already finished it, and only wakes up when the sad and always serious Matryona, who serves him, has already cleaned everything from the table and given him his pipe. He wakes up and with surprise remembers that he has already eaten and absolutely missed how it happened. The room is dark. His soul feels empty and sad. A whole kingdom of dreams has fallen around him, without noise, without trace, like a dream, and he does not even remember what he was dreaming about. But some dark feeling makes his chest ache a little. Some new desire tickles and irritates his imagination, and quietly calls a whole swarm of new ghosts. In the little room, silence reigns. Loneliness and laziness warm the imagination. It lights up. It begins to boil gently, like the water in Matrona's old coffee pot in the kitchen. Now it already bursts out in little sparks. Now a book, taken at random, falls from the hands of my dreamer, after he has read only 3 pages. His imagination is again tuned and excited, and suddenly a new world, a new charming life shines before him with all its bright perspective. A new dream, new happiness, a new dose of a sweet, refined poison. What does he care about our real life now? To his eyes, we live slowly, lazily, weakly. We are all unhappy with our fate, all tired of our life. And really, at first glance, how cold, how gloomy everything around us seems. Poor people, thinks my dreamer. And no wonder. Look at those magic pictures that rise so beautifully, so widely before him in a living painting, in which he himself, our dreamer, is always in the first place. Look at all the adventures, the endless row of enthusiastic dreams. You might ask what exactly he dreams about, but what is the use of asking? About everything. About the role of a poet, at first unknown and then crowned. About friendship with Hoffman. About the Knight of St. Bartholomew. About Diana Vernon. About a heroic deed at the taking of Kazan by Ivan the Terrible. About Clara Mowbray, Euphemia. A council of bishops and John Huss in front of them. About the rising of the dead in Robert le Diable. About Minna and Brenda. About the Battle of Berezina. About reading his poem in a countess's salon. About Danton, Cleopatra e suoi amanti, a little house in Colomna, his own corner, and near him a dear creature who listens on a winter evening with open mouth and eyes, just as you are listening to me now, my little angel. No, Nastenka. What does this lazy lover of dreams care about the real life that we want so much? He thinks it is poor and miserable. He does not guess that one day a sad hour may come, when for one single day of this poor life he would give all his fantastic years, and not for joy, not for happiness, but simply because there will be no choice in that hour of sadness, regret, and hopeless grief. But for now, that terrible time has not come. He desires nothing, because he is above desires. Because he has everything, because he is full, because he is the artist of his own life and creates it every hour as he wishes. And how easy, how natural it is to create this fairy tale world. It almost seems not imaginary. In some moments, he is ready to believe that this life is not the result of excited feelings, not an illusion, not a play of imagination, but something real and true. Why then, tell me, Nastenka, in such moments does the soul become tight? Why does the pulse beat faster? Why do tears suddenly spring to his eyes? Why do his cheeks burn with a strange joy? and his whole being is filled with such happiness. Why do whole sleepless nights fly by like 1 minute in endless delight, and when the first light of dawn touches his window and the uncertain, gray morning enters his sad room, our dreamer, tired and exhausted, throws himself on his bed and falls asleep with his heart aching sweetly from his own mad delight. Yes, Nastenka, one can be deceived and begin to believe that a true passion really shakes his soul, that there is something living in these bodiless dreams. And what a strange deception. For example, love enters his heart with all its joy and all its pain. Just look at him and you will believe it. Will you really believe, my dear Nastenka, looking at him, that he has never known the woman he loves so madly in his dreams? That he has seen her only in his imagination? That this love only visited him in dreams? Will you really believe they did not walk, hand in hand, for so many years, alone, together, leaving the whole world aside and uniting each one's life with the other? Was it not she who lay on his breast crying when they had to part? Was it not she who did not hear the storm, the wind that tore tears from her black eyelashes? Was that garden sad and wild, with paths covered in moss, not real? Was that strange old house, where she lived so long with her silent, gloomy husband, not real? How they suffered, how they were afraid, how pure their love was. Of course people were cruel, you know that, Nastenka. And my God, was it not really she whom he later met far away from his country, under a hot sky, in a wonderful eternal city, at a ball, in a palace full of lights on a balcony covered with roses, where she, recognizing him, quickly took off her mask and whispered, "I am free," and threw herself into his arms? Oh, agree, Nastenka, that you would jump, blush, and feel ashamed just like a schoolboy who has stolen an apple from a neighbor's garden, when some tall, cheerful friend of yours suddenly opens your door and calls, as if nothing has happened. "Hi, brother. I have just come back from Pavlovsk. My God, the old count has just died. Unspeakable happiness is beginning, and meanwhile people are coming back from Pavlovsk." I stopped in a high, emotional tone. I remember that I wanted to laugh loudly on purpose, because I already felt that some enemy little demon was waking inside me. My throat was tight, my chin trembled, and my eyes were getting wet. I expected that Nastenka, who had listened to me opening her clever eyes, would burst into her childlike, unstoppable laughter, and I already regretted that I had gone so far, that I had told her things that had long been burning in my heart, things that I could talk about as if reading from a page, because I had long ago passed sentence on myself and now could not resist reading it out loud, not expecting to be understood. But to my surprise, she stayed silent for a moment, then gently pressed my hand, and with shy sympathy, asked, "Is it really true that you have lived all your life like that?" "All my life, Nastenka," I answered. "All my life, and it seems I will end it the same way." "No, that cannot be," she said anxiously. "That will not happen. If so, then I might also live all my life next to my grandmother. Listen, do you know that it is not good at all to live like this?" "I know, Nastenka, I know," I cried, no longer hiding my feelings. "Now I know more than ever that I have wasted the best years of my life. Now I know it, and I feel even more pain, because God Himself has sent you, my good angel, to tell me this and prove it. Now that I sit next to you and speak with you, I am afraid to think of my future, because in my future, there is only loneliness again that stale, useless life. And what will I dream about when in real life, I have already been so happy sitting next to you? Oh, be blessed, dear girl, for not sending me away, for letting me say that at least 2 evenings in my life I have truly lived." "Oh no," cried Nastenka, and tears shone in her eyes. "No, it will not be like that. We will not part like this. What are 2 evenings? Oh, Nastenka, do you know how long you have reconciled me with myself? Do you know that I will no longer think so badly about myself as I did before? Do you know that now, maybe, I will not regret so bitterly that my life is a crime and a sin, because such a life is really a sin. And do not think that I exaggerate anything, please. Do not think so, Nastenka. Sometimes such sadness comes over me. Such sadness. Sometimes it seems to me that I will never be able to start a real life. It seems I have lost all feeling for real things. Sometimes I cursed myself. After my fantastic nights, moments of cold awakening come that are terrible. Meanwhile, life goes on around me. I hear people living for real, and I see that life is not forbidden for them, that their life does not disappear like a dream, that it is always new and young, and no hour is like another. But my fantasies are dull and monotonous. They depend on every cloud that covers the sun. You feel, at last, that your fantasy becomes tired in these endless excitements, because a man grows older, old ideals break, turn into dust. If there is no other life, you must build it again from old pieces. But your soul wants something else. The dreamer looks through the ashes of his old dreams, trying to find at least one spark to warm his cold heart again. Do you know, Nastenka, what I reached? I began to celebrate the anniversary of my feelings. The anniversary of something that was dear to me once, though it never truly happened. And I do it because even my foolish dreams are dying. There is nothing to replace them with, and dreams also grow old. Do you know that now I like to remember and visit at a fixed time the places where I was once happy in my own way? I like to adjust my present to my forever lost past and walk like a shadow through the old streets and corners of Petersburg. What memories they bring! I remember that exactly a year ago, at the same time, I walked here alone, just as sad as now. And I remember that my dreams were sad even then. And though it was not better before, I somehow feel that it was easier and calmer to live. That their black thought that has stuck to me now, that there were no heavy, gloomy bites of conscience that now follow me day and night. And I ask myself, where are your dreams now? I shake my head and say, how quickly the years go by. And again I ask myself, what have you done with your years? Where have you buried your best time? Have you lived at all? Look, I say to myself, look how cold the world is becoming. More years will pass, then will come dark loneliness, then old age with a stick, and behind them, sadness and despair. Your fantastic world will grow pale. Your dreams will fade and fall like yellow leaves. Oh, Nastenka, it will be sad to be left alone, completely alone, and to have nothing to remember, nothing at all, because all that you lost was nothing, a zero, only dreams. Please don't make me cry anymore, said Nastenka, wiping a little tear that rolled from her eye. That's enough. Now we will be together. No matter what happens to me, we will never part. Listen, I am a simple girl. I did not study much, though my grandmother did hire a teacher for me. But I truly understand you, because everything you just told me, I already lived through myself when my grandmother pinned me to her dress. Of course, I would not tell it as beautifully as you. I did not learn that. She added shyly, still feeling some respect for my high style, but I am very glad that you opened yourself completely to me. Now I know you. I know you fully, all of you. And do you know what? I want to tell you my story, all of it, with no secrets, and afterward, you must give me advice. You are a very clever man. Will you promise to give me your advice? Oh, Nastenka, I answered. I have never been an advisor, much less a clever advisor. But now I see that if we always live like this, it will be very clever, and each of us will give the other plenty of clever advice. Well then, my dear Nastenka, what advice do you need? Tell me openly. Now I am so happy, cheerful, brave, and wise that I will not have to search for words. No, no, interrupted Nastenka, laughing. I do not need just a clever advice. I need a kind, brotherly advice, as if you had loved me all your life. Agreed, Nastenka, agreed. I cried in joy, and if I had loved you for 20 years already, I still would not love you more than now. Give me your hand, said Nastenka. Here it is, I answered, giving her my hand. So let us begin my story. The story of Nastenka. You already know half my story. That is, you know that I have an old grandmother. If the second half is as short as the first, I tried to joke. Be quiet and listen. First of all, a rule. Do not interrupt me, or I might lose the thread. So listen quietly. I have an old grandmother. I came to her when I was still a very small girl, because both my mother and father died. I think grandmother used to be richer, because she still remembers better days. She taught me French and then hired a teacher. When I was 15, and now I am 17, my studies ended. At that time I misbehaved. What exactly I did, I will not tell you. It was not a very big fault. But grandmother called me one morning and said that as she was blind, she could not watch me, so she took a pin and pinned my dress to her own, and said that we would sit like this all our life if I did not become better. In short, at first, I could not move away at all. I had to work, read, and study, everything beside grandmother. Once I tried to cheat and asked our servant Fekla to sit in my place. Fekla is our maid. She is deaf. She sat there instead of me. Grandmother was at that time sleeping in her chair, and I ran to visit a friend nearby. It ended badly. Grandmother woke up without me and asked something, thinking that I was still sitting quietly in my place. Fekla saw that grandmother was asking her something, but did not hear what. She thought and thought what to do, unpinned the pin, and ran away. ... Here Nastenka stopped and began to laugh. I laughed together with her. She stopped at once. Listen, you must not laugh at grandmother. I am laughing only because it is funny. What can we do? Grandmother is really like that. But I still love her a little. So they scolded me severely, pinned me again, and this time I could not even move. I forgot to tell you that grandmother has her own house, a small wooden house, only 3 windows, just as old as grandmother. There is a little attic above, and a new lodger moved into that attic. So there was an old lodger before, I asked quietly. Of course there was, answered Nastenka. And he could keep silent much better than you. In fact, he could hardly move his tongue. He was a little old man, thin, silent, blind, lame, so that at last he could no longer live in this world and died. Then we needed a new lodger, because we cannot live without one. His rent, with grandmother's pension, is almost all our income. The new lodger was, of course, a young man, not from Petersburg, from somewhere else. As he did not try to bargain, grandmother had accepted him. After that, she asked me, "Tell me, Nastenka, is our lodger young or not?" I did not want to lie. "Well," I said, "grandmother, he is not exactly very young, but not old either." "And is he pleasant to look at?" grandmother asked. I again did not want to lie. "Yes," I said, "he is pleasant to look at, grandmother." And grandmother said, "Ah, trouble, trouble. I tell you this, granddaughter, so that you do not start looking at him. What times we live in now, such a small lodger, and already pleasant to look at. It was not like this in old times." Grandmother is always talking about old times. She was younger in old times, the sun was warmer, and the cream did not become sour so quickly. Everything was better in old times. I sat and kept quiet, but thought to myself, Why does grandmother herself push me to notice if he is good-looking and young? But I only thought this for a moment, then again began to count loops on my knitting, and soon forgot. One morning the lodger came to us to ask about the wallpaper, because we had promised to put new paper on his walls. Word by word, grandmother began to talk. She loves to talk. And then said, "Go to my bedroom, Nastinka, and bring me my counting frame." I jumped up, blushed suddenly for no reason, and forgot that I was pinned. Instead of carefully unpinning the dress so that the lodger would not see, I pulled so strongly that grandmother's chair moved. When I saw that the lodger now knew everything about me, I went red again, stopped in the middle of the room, and suddenly started to cry. The shame and sadness were so strong that I wanted to disappear from the world. Grandmother shouted, "Why are you standing there?" And I cried even more. The lodger saw how ashamed I was, and at once bowed and left. From that moment, whenever I heard a noise in the hall, I became pale. There the lodger is coming, I thought, and quietly unpinned the dress, just in case. But it was never him. He did not come. 2 weeks passed, and the lodger sent a message with Fekla, saying that he had many French books, good books that could be read. And did grandmother want me to read them to her so she would not be bored? Grandmother thanked him and agreed, but kept asking if the books were moral or not, because if they were not moral, then I could not read them, or I would learn bad things. What bad things, grandmother? What is written there? Ah, said grandmother, they describe how young men tempt good girls, how they take them from their parents under the pretext of marriage. Then leave them alone, and the poor girls die in the most terrible way. I have read many such books, and they are written so well that you sit all night and read quietly. So you must be careful, Nastinka, not to read such books. What kind of books are his? They are all novels by Walter Scott, grandmother. Novels by Walter Scott. Wait, maybe there is some affair in them? Look, didn't he hide a love letter in them? No, grandmother, there is no letter. Then look under the cover. Sometimes they put notes there, these bandits. No, grandmother, there is nothing under the cover either. Well, that's good then. So we began to read Walter Scott, and in about a month, we had read almost half. Then he sent more and more. He sent Pushkin. Finally, I could not live without books, and stopped dreaming about marrying the Chinese emperor. Things were like this when once I happened to meet our lodger on the stairs. Grandmother had sent me on an errand. He stopped. I blushed and he blushed, but he smiled, said hello. Thanks, said grandmother, and then pulled me apart and paused with myself. Ate and papermits. Asked about grandmother's health, and then said, "Have you read the books?" I answered, "Yes, I have." "And what did you like most?" he asked. I said, "I liked Ivanhoe and Pushkin most of all." That was all on that day. A week later, I met him again on the stairs. This time, grandmother did not send me. I had to go myself. It was 3 o'clock. At that time, he usually came home. "Hello," he said. I answered, "Hello." "Tell me," he said, "are you not bored sitting all day with your grandmother?" As soon as he asked that, I don't know why, but I blushed, felt ashamed, and hurt. Maybe because other people were already talking about my situation. I wanted not to answer and to go away, but I had no strength. "Listen," he said, "you are a good girl. Excuse me for speaking to you like this, but I wish you well, better than your grandmother does. Don't you have any girlfriends to visit?" I said I had none. That I had had one, Masha, but she had gone to Pskov. "Listen," he said, "would you like to go to the theater with me?" "To the theater? What about grandmother?" "You would go quietly, without telling her," he said. "No," I answered, "I do not want to deceive grandmother. Goodbye." "Well, goodbye," he said. And that was all. But after dinner, he came to us. He sat down and talked a long time with grandmother, asking if she ever went out, if she had any friends. Then suddenly he said, "Today I bought a ticket to the opera. They are playing The Barber of Seville. Some friends wanted to go with me, but then they refused, and I have an extra ticket." "The Barber of Seville," grandmother cried. "Is that the same barber they played in old times?" "Yes," he said, "the very same barber," and looked at me. I understood everything at once, blushed, and my heart jumped from waiting. "How could I not know it?" grandmother said. "In old times I played Rosina myself in a home theater." "So why don't you go today?" the lodger said. "The ticket will be wasted." "Yes, we should go," said grandmother. "Why not? And my Naziumka has never been in a theater." My God, what joy it was! We at once dressed and went. Grandmother is blind, but she wanted to hear the music, and besides, she is kind. She wanted to make me happy. Alone, we would never have gone. I cannot tell you what impression The Barber of Seville made on me. But the whole evening, our lodger looked at me so kindly and spoke so well that I saw at once. In the morning, when he had suggested that I go alone with him, he wanted to test me. Oh, what happiness! I went to bed so proud, so happy, with my heart beating so fast that I got a light fever and dreamed all night of the Barber of Seville. I thought that after this he would visit us more often and more often. Not at all. He almost stopped coming. Maybe once a month he came, and only to invite us to the theater. We went there twice more, but I was very unhappy about this. I saw that he only felt sorry for me because I lived in such a strict prison with grandmother. Nothing more. Later, things became worse. I neither sat quietly, nor read, nor worked. Sometimes I laughed and did little things to annoy grandmother. Sometimes I simply cried. I became thinner and almost ill. The opera season ended, and the lodger stopped coming completely. When we met on the stairs, he bowed silently and seriously, as if he did not want to speak. He would go down to the street, and I would still stand halfway down the stairs, red as a cherry, because now all my blood went to my head whenever I saw him. Now the end is near. Exactly a year ago, in May. He came to grandmother and told her that his business here was finished and that he had to go to Moscow for a year. When I heard this, I turned pale and fell into a chair like dead. Grandmother noticed nothing, and he, after telling us that he was leaving, bowed and went away. What was I to do? I thought and thought, suffered and suffered, then finally decided. He was to leave the next day, and I resolved to end everything that evening when grandmother went to bed. So it happened. I tied my dresses and some linen into a small bundle, and, with the bundle in my hand, neither alive nor dead, went up to the attic to our lodger. It seemed to me that I walked an hour up the stairs. When I opened his door, he cried out when he saw me. He thought I was a ghost and rushed to give me water because I could hardly stand. My heart beat so strongly that my head hurt and my mind became dark. When I came to myself, I began at once. I put my bundle on his bed, sat down beside it, covered my face with my hands, and burst into tears. He understood everything in a moment and stood before me, pale, looking so sadly at me that my heart broke. "Listen," he said. "Listen, Nastenka, I cannot do anything. I am poor. I have nothing yet, not even a proper job. How will we live if I marry you now?" We spoke a long time, but I finally fell into despair. I said that I could not live with grandmother, that I would run away from her, that I did not want to be pinned by a dress, and that I would go to Moscow with him, just as he wished, because I could not live without him. Shame, love, and pride all spoke in me at the same time, and I almost fell into his bed in convulsions. I was so afraid of a refusal. He sat for several minutes in silence, then stood up, came to me, and took my hand. "Listen, my good, dear Nastenka," he began, also with tears. "Listen, I swear to you that if I ever am able to marry, you will be the one who will make me happy. I assure you, now only you can be my happiness. Listen, I am going to Moscow and will stay there exactly 1 year. I hope to arrange my affairs. When I return, and if you still love me, I swear we will be happy. Now it is impossible. I cannot. I have no right to promise anything. But I repeat, if in a year this is not done, then sometime it will happen anyway. If, of course, you will not prefer another man, because I cannot tie you with any promise. I cannot and must not." That is what he said to me, and next day he left. We decided together not to tell grandmother anything. That is what he wanted. And so my story is almost finished. A year has passed. He has come back. He has been here for 3 days already, and what then? I cried, unable to wait for the end. "And he still has not come," answered Nastenka, as if gathering her strength. "There is no news, no sign of him." She stopped, was silent for a moment, lowered her head, and suddenly covered her face with her hands, and began to cry so bitterly that my heart turned over. I had not expected such an ending. "Nastenka," I began softly, carefully. "Nastenka, for God's sake, don't cry. How do you know? Maybe he is not here yet." "He is here, he is here," she cried quickly. "He is here, I know it. We had a plan then, that evening before he left, when we had said everything, as I have just told you, and had decided, we came here to walk to this very embankment. It was 10 o'clock. We sat on this bench. I was not crying any more. It was sweet to listen to him. He said that as soon as he arrived, he would come to us, and if I did not refuse him, we would tell everything to grandmother. Now he has come back, I know it, and he has not come to me." And she began to cry again. "My God, is there really no way to help?" I cried, jumping up from the bench in complete despair. "Tell me, Nastenka, could I not at least go to him?" "Is that possible?" she asked, suddenly raising her head. "No, of course not," I said, catching myself. "But listen, write him a letter." "No, that is impossible." "That cannot be," she answered firmly, but now lowering her head, not looking at me. "Why not? Why cannot you?" I continued, holding to my idea. "But you know, Nastenka, there are different letters." "Ah, Nastenka, trust me, trust me. I will not give you bad advice. Everything can be arranged. You have already made the first step. Why now?" I cannot," she repeated. "Then it would look as if I am forcing myself on him." "Oh, my dear, good Nastenka," I interrupted, unable to hide a smile. No, you have the right, because he gave you his promise. And from everything I see, he is a delicate, honorable man. He behaved well. Look how he acted. He tied himself with a promise. He said he would not marry anyone else but you, if he marries. To you, he left complete freedom. You could refuse him at once. In that case, you may make the first step. You have the right. You even have the advantage. For example, if you wish to free him from his word. "Tell me, how would you write it?" she asked suddenly. "What? This letter?" "I would write it like this, Sir." "Is sir really necessary?" she asked quickly. "Necessary? Or, well, maybe not, I think." Well, go on." "Sir, forgive me for writing to you. Please excuse my impatience, but I have been happy with hope for a whole year. Is it my fault that I cannot now bear even 1 day of doubt? If now that you have returned, you have changed your plans, then this letter will tell you that I do not complain and do not blame you. I do not blame you for not being able to command your heart. Such is my fate. You are a noble man. You will not smile, and will not be angry at my impatient lines. Remember that a poor girl writes them, that she is alone, that she has nobody to teach her or advise her, and that she has never learned how to control her heart. But forgive me, if even for a moment, doubt has entered my soul. You are not capable of offending, even in your thoughts, the one who has loved you so much and still loves you. Yes, yes, this is exactly what I thought myself, cried Nastenka, and joy shone in her eyes. Oh, you have solved all my doubts. God himself sent you to me. Thank you. Thank you. For what? For being sent by God? I answered, looking happily at her bright little face. Yes, even for that. Oh, Nastenka, we sometimes thank people simply because they live next to us. I thank you for meeting me, for the fact that I will remember you for all my life. Enough, enough, and now listen. Then we agreed that when he returned, he would let me know immediately by leaving a letter for me in one place, with some good simple people I know who know nothing about our secret. Or, if he could not write, because in a letter you cannot always say everything, he would come here the same day at 10 o'clock, to this place where we are sitting now. I already know that he has arrived, but for 3 days there has been no letter and no sign of him. I cannot leave grandmother in the morning. So you will take my letter tomorrow to those good people I told you about. They will pass it to him. And if there is an answer, you will bring it yourself in the evening at 10 o'clock. But the letter, we must first write it. So that will all happen the day after tomorrow. The letter, answered Nastenka, a little embarrassed. The letter, but she did not finish. She turned her face away from me, blushed like a rose, and suddenly I felt a letter in my hand, already written and sealed. A familiar, sweet, graceful memory flashed in my mind. Se, ne, I began. Rosina, we both sang together. I was ready to embrace her with delight. She, blushing as much as she could blush, laughed through tears, which trembled like little pearls on her black eyelashes. Enough, enough, goodbye now, she said quickly. Here is the letter, and here is the address where you must take it. Goodbye. See you tomorrow. She pressed both my hands tightly, nodded, and disappeared like an arrow into her lane. I stood for a long time, following her with my eyes. Tomorrow, sounded in my head when she disappeared from my sight.